What do you feel in your body when you hear the term white people?
I feel like a cringe about it.
Cringe is a good word.
White, straight, cisgender man is the top of the pile.
So I'm on the top of the pile. It's me.
Can I just propose a toast? Raise a glass if you're racist. To racist.
That was really weird.
Don't deny that you're racist. Try not to be racist, but also don't realize that you're. Until we're willing to talk about these things, healing can't really begin.
My daughter's 4 years old. She's still watching Disney movies and choosing a white princess.
Have you talked to her about that?
All the time.
Is racism inherent to whiteness?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, probably.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Did race exist as a reality before?
We made race exist.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. What do you mean? What you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you.
Am I Racist? In theaters this Friday. Rated PG-13.
A major celebrity endorsement threatens to upend the presidential race. No, I'm not talking about Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala Harris. I'm talking instead about Joe Biden's apparent endorsement of Donald Trump. If you are watching this show rather than just listening, you can see Joe Biden donning a Trump hat at the Shanksville fire station in Pennsylvania. And Biden didn't even do it confused and unwittingly, as he does so many things. Biden briefly donned the hat as a show of bipartisan unity after a fireman offered it to him. It was a charming moment, actually. I suspect Biden also did it because he privately despises Kamala Harris and could not possibly care less about helping her win. Which all got me thinking. Lots of political nerds were frustrated during the debate 2 nights ago. The ridiculous moderators, the missed opportunities, the fact-check lies. But as the dust settles, even the liberal media are admitting that Kamala might not have actually won very much at all. Outlets from Fox News to the New York Times are reporting that undecided voters are unsold on Harris. Celebrities, some of them, are refusing to endorse. And even Joe Biden himself can't resist the allure of the red Trump hat. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. Some celebrities are endorsing Kamala, of course, up to and including Taylor Swift. We'll get to the meaning of that in one moment. First, though, much better news. The Michael Knowles seasonal candle is here. This is available at thecandleclub.com, and it is the Apple Orchard. The Apple Orchard. Look at this beautiful, nice little plastic sealed on top. This candle smells magnificent. It is an autumnal delight. The Apple Orchard. It is a reference, by the way, to one of my very favorite contemporary poems by a wonderful new formalist poet. If you can name it, you get bonus points. The Apple Orchard, available now at thecandleclub.com. I mentioned that as the dust settles from the debate, outlets that are theoretically conservative, outlets that are decidedly liberal, are suggesting that perhaps Kamala didn't do quite as well as everyone was saying on the night. And perhaps Trump didn't do quite so poorly as some people were saying on the night. And perhaps those moderators who made it a 3-on-1 debate didn't really succeed all that much. I have the New York Times in my hand. Pundits said Harris won the debate. Undecided voters were not so sure. Voters said the vice president talked about a sweeping vision to fix the country's most stubborn problems, but they wanted the fine print. For weeks, undecided voters have been asking for more substance. So it was perhaps no accident that Vice President Kamala Harris's first words during the presidential debate on Tuesday were, "I'm actually the only person on this stage who has a plan. Some Americans might need more convincing." And then the Times goes on to interview undecided voters who say it was all disappointing. You know, the pundit class thought Harris did well because she rattled Trump, but the undecided voters were maybe not convinced. I think this is probably right, because while the political nerds were watching the debate, and I include us in this, I include you and me, you listening to this show. If you're listening to this show right now, you follow politics very closely. And so we all could see, here was the trap she was laying out. Oh, I hope he sidesteps that trap. Here's what he could have said, because this would refer to a thing that she said 6 months ago. And these moderators are absolutely out of control because they're not calling out the hoaxes that Kamala's saying that we all know about, but they are focusing on Donald Trump and this. And we knew, we had a vision of how the debate was supposed to go. But for undecided voters who don't follow every single machination every single day, they had a different experience watching the debate. They were not as bothered by some of the missed opportunities on the Trump side. They did not really care about the so-called fact checks. They did not, even when Kamala was not fact check on her hoaxes, they'd heard many of those hoaxes before. And if it didn't decide their vote by now in September of 2024, it's probably not going to affect them very much. This is not a race to win over 93% of the American electorate, which is already decided. This is a race for 5 to 7% of the electorate. And they had a different experience than others. And I hate to give it to him. I hate to give it to that old man, Andrew Klavan. But he made this point in the room. We were all sitting and watching the debate together during backstage. And some of my friends and colleagues were pulling their hair out. Others were a little more moderate. I thought, it was a missed opportunity here, but that was a good line there, and that was pretty good. And, I was kind of in the middle on the whole thing. But Drew was the one who said that Trump might well be considered the winner as the dust settles, days later, weeks later. And that might well be happening. Fox News conducted a real-time survey of voters, and it showed that independents and undecided people were tracking more with Republican reactions to the debate than to Democrat reactions. What's the point of the debate? One of my absolute favorite Twitter accounts, Eudaimonia, pointed out, he said, when these debates happen now, both sides say that their candidates won, and most of them probably believe it. They're probably being sincere when they say that, because no one really knows what it means to win one of these debates now. You go out and you rattle off your side's talking points. Okay, that's not persuading the other side. And then maybe you get a few zingers in. Okay, Trump got more zingers than Kamala. She had one or two lines that were okay. And then, well, what does it even mean to win? What are you trying to accomplish here? These aren't really debates. They're just theatrical opportunities to land a few blows. So then what does it mean? What did Kamala have to do? Kamala had to show that she had a pulse. So in that way, she did much better than Joe Biden. And so in that way, you might say she won. She accomplished something. But she also had to show voters that she had substance, that she had a vision for the future. She failed at that. What did Trump have to do? Trump had to show that he's still sharp. He's still with it. He still has a policy vision. He did accomplish that. And he has to, inspire people to get out there and crawl over broken glass to vote for him. And I guess he was a little more reserved than he sometimes is. I don't know. He basically accomplished what he had to do. And Kamala accomplished some of what she had to do, but not all of it. Maybe that is why outlets across the political spectrum are suggesting whatever the pundits have to say, whatever the political nerds have to say, the undecided voters, who are the actual target audience of the debate, might have a different opinion. Now, speaking of demonstrable lies during that debate, Kamala Harris we went through a number of them on the show yesterday, but there's one that really deserves some focus. Kamala Harris declared during the debate, when Trump brilliantly forced the abortion question onto territory that was uncomfortable for her and her side. We're no longer talking about abortion within the first 3 hours after conception. We're no longer talking about abortion in the less than 1% instance of conception through incest or pregnancies that threaten the health of the mother. We're talking about 7th month, 8th month, 9th month. And Kamala Harris stated on stage that full-term abortions do not happen in the United States.
I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
That is not happening. There are no full-term abortions in America. So says Kamala Harris, and her statement has been echoed by the liberal press now. But if you rewind just about a year and you turn to one of the most respected magazines in the liberal press, The Atlantic, you find this feature story. The abortion absolutist, Warren Hern, has been performing late abortions for half a century. After Roe, he is as busy with patients as ever. This is a really disturbing piece to read, and it's very much worth reading. This is excellent journalism from The Atlantic. You can see this guy who is fanatical about performing as many abortions as late in term as he can. And he looks like the kind of fellow who would do that. This is just from May 12th, 2023. I won't read the whole story. I obviously don't have time. But just to give you a little taste of it. Hern is nearing his 5th decade of practice at his Boulder clinic. He has persisted through the entire arc of Roe v. Wade. It's a nearly 50-year rise and fall. He specializes in abortions late in pregnancy, the rarest and most controversial form of abortion. This means that Hern ends the pregnancies of women who are 22, 25, or even 30 weeks along, or further, actually, as the article will show us. Although 14 states now ban abortion in most or all circumstances, Colorado has no gestational limits on the procedure. And of course, we recall, though Kamala was trying to deny it, that states are liberalizing their abortion laws specifically to legalize abortion up till the moment of birth. Patients come to him from all over the country. Now, here's one of his clients. I put my baby down. Kate Carson, who'd gotten an abortion at Hern's clinic in 2012, told me she'd been 35 weeks into a much-wanted pregnancy when her doctor diagnosed multiple brain anomalies. Carson's daughter, the doctor said, would have trouble walking, talking, holding her head up, and swallowing. So my wife just gave birth a couple of months ago, 2.5 months ago. And we're happily, wonderful, perfectly healthy. It all went very, very well. The baby was delivered a week early. So you're talking, 39 weeks? And then you hold your baby. And the moment, if you've, if you've given birth or your wife's given birth, you are so shocked because you say, oh my goodness, that's a baby. You don't, when the baby's in the belly, you think, oh, well, I don't know. What does he look like? But then he comes out and you say, oh my goodness, that's a baby. At 35 weeks, the baby's just a baby. The baby could easily be delivered at 35 weeks. The baby would be absolutely fine at 35 weeks. The baby looks like a baby, behaves like a baby, has all of the features of a baby. By the way, we're not even talking about the sorts of disabilities that would result likely in immediate death or very early death. We're talking about the baby would have trouble swallowing. A baby might have trouble walking and talking. So the full-term baby that is just a baby that plenty of people deliver at 35 weeks, she goes to this psycho, and this psycho gleefully chops up the baby. Medical viability for a fetus or its ability to survive outside the uterus is generally considered to be somewhere from 24 to 28 weeks. Hern, though, believes that the viability of a fetus is determined not by gestational age, but by a woman's willingness to carry it. He applies the same principle to all of his prospective patients. If he thinks it's safer for them to have an abortion than to carry and deliver their baby, he'll take the case, usually up until around 32 weeks, with some rare later exceptions. Not because it's the baby is then too much of a baby, but because of the increased risk of hemorrhage and other life-threatening conditions beyond that point to the woman. This is happening. Real late term. People at 35 weeks, because your baby's not going to come out in a way that you imagine is totally perfect, that the baby might have some disabilities. Even, by the way, if the baby were to have serious disabilities or to likely die in childhood or even in infancy or something, that still would not justify you yourself going in and killing the baby in a particularly gruesome way. It's not as though you can just erase the baby. We pretend the baby never existed. The baby exists. And the baby's a baby. The person's a person from the moment of conception. But the baby looks much more and more and more like a baby later on into term. And the liberal media are admitting that there are full-term babies being aborted in America. Business is booming. This doctor's busier than ever. That's the Atlantic saying that. That's not the DailyWire. That's not Breitbart. That's not Fox News. That's the Atlantic admitting that. And Kamala Harris lied on stage. And she couldn't even answer it in the hypothetical. Would you support this? This is not happening. Yeah, but it is, but and actually Democrat governors are talking about it happening. In fact, one Democrat governor talked about killing a baby after the baby was born, and Democrat governors like Andy Cuomo in New York are changing the law to stop classifying the murder of a pregnant woman as a double homicide, to legalize abortion up until the moment of birth. So all these things are happening. But okay, Kamala, even if they're not happening, would you support it in principle? Would you support it in principle? Would you support it in theory? She says, well, it's not happening. It's one of these little tests to see if someone is possible of abstract thought. You'd say, hey, would you, I forget exactly how they phrase it. It's become something of an internet meme, but would you have had waffles for breakfast last Tuesday? I say, but I didn't have waffles for breakfast last Tuesday. No, but would you? Are you able to entertain a hypothetical? The liberals will not entertain this hypothetical here because their position, the only consistent position they can hold, and the position that they do hold is yes, they support exactly what the Atlantic is describing here. They support abortion up until the moment of birth. And they can't admit it, so they have to lie about it. That was, of all the lies that Kamala Harris said during the debate, that was probably the most egregious. And of course, we're not waiting for a fact check from David Muir and Lindsay Davis. Now, speaking of this extraordinarily important issue, if you want to do something about it, you ought to check out Preborn. Go to preborn.org/Knowles. Every year, over 800,000 innocent lives are lost to abortion in America. It's actually higher now. It had gotten down to about 800,000. Then with the abortion pill, it's now over 1 million. This is a tragedy that should weigh heavily on every heart. We are fighting against the Biden-Harris administration, which defends abortion. We are now seeing Democrat leaders like VP nominee Walz support infanticide after birth. This is the America that we are living in, folks. Go to preborn.org/Knowles right now, where for just $28, less than the cost of a night out, you can potentially save a life. Your tax-deductible donation goes directly to defending the most vulnerable among us. That is preborn.org/Knowles. What if you can't get to a computer? No problem. Simply dial pound 250 on your phone. Say keyword baby. That is pound 250. Say keyword baby. Your $28 can be the difference between life and death for an unborn child. Let's show the Biden-Harris administration we won't stand idly by while innocent lives are at stake. Support Preborn today. This is an organization that I support personally. I encourage you to give what you can. Preborn.org/Knowles, because every life is precious and every life is worth fighting for. Now, back to exposing Kamala's lies from the debate. There's a great little tool from the Heritage Foundation, the wonderful Heritage Foundation, which has put out a tool called the Personal Inflation Calculator. You go to myinflation.com. I'm not going to totally go through it right now, but it's very, very simple. You select your location, number of different cities in America, or generally your region. I live in the South. Then you put in your monthly budget, groceries, restaurants, rent or mortgage, electricity, gas, car payments, car insurance, all that kind of stuff. Throw it in there. You can also just click U.S. average or U.S. city average or U.S. suburban average or whatever. Put it in there. Then you compare present expenses to this date, today. So I just put in the U.S. average, the U.S. urban professional average for the South, and I checked out the inflation. Compared to January of 2021 when Biden-Harris took office, people in the South who are urban professionals are paying on average $478 more per month for the same goods and services, which is a percentage increase of 22.3%. 22.3% effective inflation over the course of the Biden administration. And this is a really important number. It's 3 years and 7 months. This is no time. 22.3%. That's a really important number because we hear these inflation numbers and we don't really know what to do with them. At the height of inflation during the Biden administration, the number we heard was about 9% inflation year over year. Okay. And then, now inflation's come down. Kamala was bragging about that at the debate. Inflation's come down. Okay, I'm glad it's come down from 9% year over year, but that doesn't give the whole picture. Because when we say inflation comes down, that doesn't mean that prices have come down. Quite the opposite. Prices continue to go up. And when you compound the effect of that over 3 years, people who voted for Joe Biden, well, I think a lot of people voted for Joe Biden because they were foreign nationals or dead. But the people who legitimately voted for Joe Biden perhaps did so because Trump is mean and he makes fun of Mika Brzezinski's makeup or something, and he tweets too much or whatever. Okay. What you got to ask your friends who are undecided in this election. Who knows? There are still 5 to 7% of voters who are perhaps undecided. Are the mean tweets, is the lack of mean tweets worth 22.3% on your household budget? Would you be willing to accept some mean tweets and world peace and a more secure country in exchange for a 22.3% raise in terms of your household budget? I think probably most people would say yes. Myinflation.com, I think it's a great project from Heritage. If you have any friends, any family who are on the fence, especially if they're in a swing state, send them that calculator. Make the awful effects of the Biden-Harris policies real for people. Got to be responsible here, folks. Which is why I want to talk to you about Responsible Man. Go to responsibleman.com, promo code Knowles. Gentlemen, let's talk about your health. While the left is busy pushing their dumb agenda, I have discovered a way to fortify ourselves against the tide of cultural decay. And that, of course, is Responsible Man vitamins. Now, I know what you're thinking. Michael, aren't all vitamins the same? Not even close. Responsible Man created the Emerson multivitamin for men who take their duties seriously. This is a multivitamin packed with 33 key ingredients that support your immune system, sharpen your mind, and keep your heart and muscles strong. It's everything a conservative man needs to stand firm in these trying times. Responsible Man is a DailyWire Ventures company, so you know these vitamins are made right here in America. No Chinese knockoffs, no outsourcing to countries that resent your beliefs, just good old quality American stuff, because a strong America needs strong men. Now, I'm not saying the Emerson multivitamin will single-handedly save Western civilization, once known as Christendom, but it's a step in the right direction. It is about taking responsibility for your health, something we conservatives know is crucial for a flourishing society. Take advantage of Responsible Man's fall sale going on right now. ResponsibleMan.com. Use code Knowles for 30% off, plus an additional $9 off your first order. Hurry. This will not last long. ResponsibleMan.com. Code Knowles for 30% off. Gents, in a world where the libs want to redefine your manhood, taking care of your health is practically a revolutionary act. ResponsibleMan.com today. Okay, I mentioned it at the top of the show. I guess we'll get to it. Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. She did so right after the debate. We were all expecting this. Taylor Swift is a big lib. She endorsed Biden in 2020. She was going to endorse Harris, probably. But notice the way that she did it. Well, okay, I'll read you what she said first. And then I'll point out something odd about the way she did it. She says, Kamala fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she's a steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we're led by calm, not chaos. Like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter most to you. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about their proposed policies and plans for this country. Recently, I was made aware of AI of me falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run, posted to this site. Really conjured up my fears around AI and misinformation, brought me to the conclusion that I need to be transparent about my actual plans for this election as a voter. The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth. She goes on and on. I'm not going to read the whole thing. With love and hope, Taylor Swift, childless cat lady. Okay, so some now are responding and saying, this is Trump's fault. Had he and his followers not posted AI of Swifties for Trump, maybe she would have stayed out of the race. Give me a break. Oh, did Trump post AI pictures in 2020 when she endorsed Biden, who was half dead? Give me a break. She was always going to endorse Kamala. This is the excuse to make it seem as though she had to endorse, to temper her political activism. Make it sort of an aw shucks, I'm just trying to set the record straight kind of a thing. Likewise, it had nothing to do with either party's performance at the debate. Perhaps if Kamala had just collapsed on stage like Biden, perhaps Taylor Swift would have held off. But this was not about the debate. She had to wait for this debate because she had to at least pretend that she was waiting to hear from both candidates. Kamala Harris didn't run for president in the 2024 primary. There was a palace coup that installed her, so she had to hold off she probably held off her endorsement of Biden because so many people were suggesting Biden would be swapped off the ticket. So this was not a matter of will Taylor endorse. This was certainly not a matter of who will Taylor endorse. It was simply a matter of timing. But Taylor was a little bit cautious about it. She was not over the top. She was not effusive, even as probably the most popular Democrat on earth right now. She did her duty, but that was it. Then President Trump reacted to the endorsement.
Out of nowhere, after the debate last night, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. What do you think?
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. She couldn't. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it at in the marketplace. But no, I like Brittany. I think Brittany's great. Brittany got a lot of news last week. She's a big MAGA fan. That's the one I like much better than Taylor Swift.
Right. Brittany is
Mahomes.
Yeah, they're Mahomes. They're great friends.
The wife of the great quarterback, and he is a great quarterback.
My favorite team from Kansas City.
I think she's terrific.
I love it. You know, for the people who say Trump's not disciplined or Trump it takes personal slights too intensely, and here you have the most famous woman in the world coming out against Donald Trump with all these little jabs, the childless cat lady, whatever. And Trump does not go after Taylor Swift, which would be unnecessary and probably unproductive. He says, I like Brittany Mahomes, actually. Yeah, she's more my speed. Taylor's a big Democrat. That's okay. It might hurt her, but that's okay. But I like Brittany Mahomes. This is a perfect answer. Okay, yeah, this was already baked in. Taylor Swift was going to endorse a Democrat. Let's move on. Taylor, she was kind of slow about it. She couldn't endorse Biden. She's kind of, okay, no big deal. Other celebrities, by the way, forget about Taylor Swift. Other celebrities won't even do it. Usher just went on ABC, the liberal station that hosted the debate. He went on The View, this unbearable left-wing show, and Joy Behar tried her best to get Usher, another beloved cultural figure, to endorse Kamala Harris. Here's what he said.
I always say that in this emergency that we're in, I think that behooves artists to come out and speak for Kamala against Donald Trump, because he is an existential threat to the country. What do you say to that?
You know what? I don't get too deep into politics. I didn't get a chance to watch the debate last night. I obviously have been watching like everybody else. I think voting is an individual choice. And I think that you're right. You have to look at the reality of the country that we are and the country that we want to be, and find the candidate that you feel both are who fits the category of where we want to be. Yeah. And that's it. And that's what you vote based off of. Who you highlight and how you choose to highlight it on whatever platform you have is your prerogative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but Usher, you were supposed to endorse Kamala. Why won't you endorse Kamala? Yeah, no thanks. I'm good. And Usher's so smooth. He's so cool. Yeah, no, that's okay, actually. Thank you, though. No, but you have to. It's really important, don't you think? Yeah, politics is real important. I'm not going to endorse, though. Haha. Sorry. He's all smooth and moving around. Now, Usher has endorsed candidates before. He endorsed Obama. It's not that he's totally opposed ever to endorsing a politician. This is not Michael Jordan, even Republicans buy sneakers. I'm going to shut up on politics. Totally. This is Usher saying, yeah, Kamala, she ain't it. I'm not staking my career on Kamala Harris. I don't think that endorsing Kamala Harris is going to help me at all. And I don't think the good of the country calls for it. Usher is supporting Kamala. I think he says in the interview that he's going to vote for Kamala. But he he won't go as far as to say, you should vote for Kamala. He ain't campaigning with her. He won't even say on TV, go vote for Kamala. Why? Why not? What's the benefit to him? You know, celebrities are very savvy politicians, especially celebrities like Usher or Taylor Swift, who have endured for many, many years. Usher's been around longer than Taylor Swift. These people, they know what works in the marketplace. They know how to get people to like them. They know what's popular. The fact that Taylor dragged her feet on the endorsement, the fact that she blamed Trump for the endorsement, she gave herself an excuse. Oh no, I'm only doing this because Trump, posted an AI picture or something. She had to give herself an out. The fact that Usher asked point blank, says, yeah, I'm not endorsing Kamala. Well, it makes you think about that New York Times article at the top of the show. Maybe the Democrats are doing a little bit worse than the pundit class is saying that they are. Maybe Trump, after everything, after the lies and the calumny and the investigations and the Russia hoax and the multiple attempted impeachments and the assassination attempt, and after all of that, maybe he's a little more durable and a little more popular among Americans than some would have us believe. And maybe the celebrities are a barometer of that. Now, speaking of celebrities, Will Ferrell is making a movie. I mentioned this a week or two ago on the show. He's making a movie with Netflix that is not a comedy. It's a drag movie, but it's not a comedy. It's his buddy who was a writer on SNL came out as transgender and decided he was going to be a woman one day. And it's Will Ferrell and this guy going on a road trip talking very seriously about transgenderism. So as part of the tour for this movie, Will Ferrell is being forced to confront the many, many times he wore drag as a punchline on the comedy show that he starred in, Saturday Night Live. He was asked if he would wear the drag again. This is in a conversation with the transvestite that he's doing the movie with. He's asked, would you do that today? And his answer, absolutely not.
The Janet Reno character hits a false note now.
Yeah, that's something, yeah. I wouldn't choose to do now. And
this kind of bums me out, though. This is something that I actually feel a little bit differently about it. I understand the laugh is a drag laugh. Mm-hmm. It's the, hey, look at this guy's gotten a dress and that's funny. And it's absolutely not funny. It's absolutely a way that we should be able to live in the world. However, with performers and actors, I do like a sense of play. This is an interesting question to me. Mm-hmm. Do queer people like the birdcage, or do they not like it? That Robin Williams, at least as far as we know, was not a gay man, and yet he spent about a half of his comedy career doing a swishy gay guy on camera. Do people think that that's funny, or is it just hurtful? And I've heard from gay men that it was funny, and I've heard from gay men that it was very hurtful. And I understand both. Sometimes I wonder if, and I'm the most woke, I am accusably purple-haired woke. I'm telling you. But I do wonder if sometimes we take away the joy of playing when we take away some of the range that some performers, mm-hmm. especially comedy performers, can do.
Wow. Between Will Ferrell, a regular old comedian, and this guy, whose name I forget, who is a man dressing as a woman, making a whole movie about how seriously he's a woman, it's the latter who's the voice of reason in this conversation. Will Ferrell, I would not play Janet Reno today. I would not do the drag bits today on It's Not Funny. And then the transvestite says, no, man, it's kind of funny, isn't it? Like, I know we're supposed to take it super seriously and I'm really a woman and everything, but like, it's funny. It's a punchline. Of course it's funny. Of course it's funny. You know, I was an actor. In my youth, I was an actor. I played Liz Warren during a bit on the Daily Wire, put a little blonde wig on and pretended to be an Indian eating pow wow chow. I did that because it's funny. I've played all sorts of roles. Okay, I played a gay guy, that which the libs never want me to live down. I played football players. I've played Judas Iscariot. I've played the devil himself, okay? Actors play all sorts of roles. Will Ferrell played Janet Reno. The roles that are comedic, well, all roles are a performance of fiction, right? You are living truthfully, but in imaginary circumstances. But the comedic roles are there to make you laugh. It's funny that Will Ferrell plays Janet Reno. It's incongruous for a man to be wearing a dress. That is an intrinsically funny thing. There's obviously no problem with that. Even the guy who has the trans identity is saying, there's no problem with Will Ferrell playing Janet Reno. It's funny, man. It's funny. Lighten up. Even gay guys say it's funny. Even transvestites say it's funny. Come on, lighten up, everybody. So what's the problem? Why do people have a problem with this now? The problem is not a man wearing a dress in a funny little TV sketch. The problem is when we confuse the TV sketch for reality. The problem isn't with acting. Okay, it's not with the theater or movies. The problem is when we confuse the stage for reality, the movies for reality. Then it's not funny anymore, because in order to laugh at comedy, we have to be grounded in reality. And then we need to, jokes are never funnier than when you explain them, but you need to be able to perceive some chasm between what is being depicted and what is true, what is real. The incongruity between the performance and objective reality is one of the main things that makes us laugh. We haven't lost that perception totally, because human beings still have faculties of reason, but we deny that faculty. We deny that perception. And so people are humorless now, up to and including one of the most famous comedians of his age, Will Ferrell. Now, speaking of movies, our first ever theatrical release, Am I Racist?, hits theaters nationwide tomorrow. Right now, go to amiracist.com, type in your city or zip code, find your local theater, grab your tickets for this weekend. It is absolutely crucial that you show up this opening weekend and help us dominate the box office. Go to amiracist.com, get your tickets today. My favorite comment yesterday is from Kegel Destroyer, who says, Trump missed a few easy verbal wins, but he did okay. Yeah, that basically is my take from the debate. Yeah, there were a few moments that would have been great. Yeah, it was 3-on-1. Yeah, the coverage is slanted. But, he did, in terms of the practical effect of the debate, he did pretty good. He did as well as he could have done, just about. It would have been better, I guess, if Kamala had, started speaking gibberish and melted into a puddle on stage. But that's not in Trump's control. Yeah, he did fine. Now, speaking of good stuff coming out of celebrities, not from Will Ferrell, but at least the transgender guy, at least he had some sense of reality. Well, Vanity Fair has a story out about some really good stuff happening among celebrities, which is that celebrities are conspicuously converting to Christianity. Specifically, they're becoming Catholic. And this is how Vanity Fair is reporting on this. Bad faith, that's what they're calling the segment. Behind the Catholic rights celebrity conversion industrial complex. Goes on to list all these celebrities who have recently converted to the Catholic Church. Goes on to suggest that this is a big PR problem for the Catholic Church. Goes on to suggest that the Catholic Church is chasing these people. Like we're trying to sell them on something. It's so funny, Shia LaBeouf, one of the most famous people who's converted recently, he was doing an interview with Bishop Barron, and he said, I love the traditional Latin Mass. And Bishop Barron asked, why do you love the traditional Latin Mass? And he says, because I felt like no one was trying to sell me anything. So ironically, one of the figures that Vanity Fair is profiling here says, no, the reason I converted is in large part because I wasn't being sold on anything. So why do these people convert? I'm not going to go in and try to read all of their minds, but I suspect a big part of it is they are persuaded through their reason that it's true. They are attracted through the senses to its beauty. And they are inspired as a matter of virtue and the natural law inscribed in every human heart by its goodness and sanctity. One, holy, Catholic, and apostolic. Those are the four marks of the church. I think I'll make it simpler. I think these people convert because it's true. I think that's why people convert. And there are all sorts of other reasons for it that go along with it. But I think that's the basic one. I looked into this author who wrote this hit piece on the church and on Christianity. And this author has written just 2 books. Both of those books are harangues against Christians, not just Catholics, but just professing Christians broadly. People convert because they're convinced something is true. There is not much. Look, sometimes in society, there can be social advantages that go along with holding certain positions, like becoming a Democrat. There are social privileges that go along with being a Democrat. You'll fit in more in the elite halls of power, in country clubs, at school, and work. You will be more likely to be promoted, perhaps, because you say all the right things that the people in power want you to say. There are social benefits that go along with that. There are not really social benefits that go along with becoming a Catholic. Certainly not with becoming a conservative Catholic. Maybe a Joe Biden type of Catholic or a Kennedy type of Catholic will be okay, but certainly not a right-wing Catholic, which is what the article is taking issue with. Also, this is America. This is a country that was founded in explicitly Protestant terms. So, one person that they bring up is J.D. Vance. Ah, yes, J.D. Vance is, I think they're insinuating that these people are converting in cynical ways. Well, what benefit does J.D. Vance, a United States Senator from Ohio, have if he converts to Catholicism? Wouldn't he be much more politically viable if he were, I don't know, an evangelical Protestant or something, or non-denominational or what, wouldn't... Protestantism is much more politically viable in America. So why did he convert? I think he converted because he just thinks it's true. I think that's why people convert generally. And that's the one thing these libs never seem to understand. When they write about, even beyond religion, when they write about why Republicans vote Republican, especially why Trump voters vote for Trump, why conservatives think the way that they think, why Christians go to church. They always write in terms of psychobabble. Well, because of this mental irritation that's going on, because of this neurosis that they have, because of their respective levels of anxiety and trepidation. And they never write philosophically. They never write theologically. They never suggest, maybe we did this because we think it's true. When I reverted to the church, I was an atheist for 10 years. There were plenty of things I was doing that I no longer could do in good conscience. All right, one gives up things when one returns to the faith. Young man, maybe I like to go out, have a couple of Coca-Colas, stay out real late, hang around. Maybe in my single days, maybe go, date around some nice ladies and things and not take it all seriously and not really think about it in terms of marriage. And you can't behave that way anymore. Even down to gluttony, even down to wrath, even down to using naughty language, even down to there are a lot of things that we do that we're accustomed to that you have to give up. But what does our Lord say in the gospel? He says, take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Because either you have the yoke of sin and vice and all this sorts of bad stuff that we pretend makes us free but actually enslaves us, or you take on the yoke of righteousness in our Lord. But you do have to, when you want to sin, you got to give stuff up. When you want to become religious, you got to give stuff up too. The question is, what are you giving up, and what happens to you in exchange for that? There are all sorts of reasons, or all sorts of temptations not to convert, okay? The biggest reason that gets people to convert is they just conclude it's true. But then, of course, the liberal journalists at places like Vanity Fair, they don't even believe that truth really exists. Okay, that's fine, but I see all these sorts of headlines. Catholic conversions hit record highs around the Capitol. Oxford Oratory adapts to increase in conversions, sacraments. The reason why adult baptisms have increased in LA and beyond. NCR talking about all the new converts. Something is happening in our culture. Even as the atheists and the leftists clamp down more and more on their power, and they lock people up for protesting them, and they prosecute their political enemies, and they start spying on churches. And even as they do that, it seems, ironically, paradoxically, that the conversions continue to grow. Conversions will grow until morale improves. Now, speaking of switching sides, there is politically a spate of Democrats who are switching sides, including now a California former Democrat state senator switching to the GOP. We will get to that and so much more a little bit later. I've run out of time, but you know I'm a tease. So the rest of the show continues now. You don't want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLES at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey. If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gon' say I'm racist. Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging
I
there.
want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
White.
folks.
White.
Trash.
White supremacy.
White woman. White boy.
Is there a black person around? There's a black person right here. Does he not exist?
Say I'm racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi. What's your name?
I'm Matt.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gon' say you racist.
Buy your tickets now. In theaters September 13th. Rated PG-13.